Hey there, Blazer fans, and welcome to episode 53 of The Dragon's Den, a podcast for those that bleed green and gold. Today, I have a very special guest, a former UAB basketball guard and forward from 2007 to 2009, Mr. Robert Vaden. Many of the Blazer faithful remember Robert as one of the most electrifying players of all time. He and I had a great conversation about his playing career at UAB and where he is today. Let's go ahead and jump in, and thanks for listening. All right, Blazer fans, I've got my guest here for episode 53 of The Dragon's Den, a former UAB guard for the basketball team from 2007 to 2009 and forward. I don't want to shortchange you there, Robert. Mr. Robert Vaden. Robert, how you doing today, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, Will. It's a pleasure to be on, bringing back some nostalgia from a good time. So it's great to be on with you.
It's a thrill for me, man. I've been dying to have you on, and it's so thrilling to get to know you a little bit more. I watched you as a kid, so it's definitely going to be cool to get to hear some of your background stories a little bit. And obviously, I know the Blazer faithful are dying to hear how you're doing today. So
Yeah, for
let's
sure, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to get it going.
let's get into it, man. So, first question: you're from Indianapolis, Indiana. In high school, you went to Cathedral High School and Pike High School in Indianapolis, and then in your senior year, you went to Bridgeton Academy in Bridgeton, Maine. So,
Yep.
what was high school like for you, and what colleges were looking at you coming out of high school?
Yeah. So high school was great here in Indiana. Like Indianapolis basketball is serious. It's tough. It's competitive. Like you gotta have some pressure and learn how to handle pressure early. And then Cathedral, Pike, and Bridgeton, they all helped me mature and just like being able to adapt to different personalities, different people and environments helped. And then recruiting was different back then because the relationships mattered more. I was actually committed to Purdue in the eighth grade. They offered me a scholarship right after
Wow.
my eighth grade year going into a freshman. So my recruitment was kind of slow. And then when I opened it back up, it was schools like Louisville, Michigan State, Florida, obviously Indiana, Purdue was still in the mix. So I had a nice amount of Big Ten schools looking at me. But coming from Indianapolis, it gave me an edge mentally and competitively.
So, your first 2 years in college, you were at Indiana, and you did quite well. You averaged double figures in both years, and you were a starter. Your best game in your first 2 years there was a 26-point performance against Iowa in your sophomore year. So, what was it like in Bloomington?
Playing at IU, it was pressure and pride at the same time. Bloomington is a party city, so a party school, so you got to like really be focused. But I learned how expectations can build and how people mentally like you got to be prepared mentally. But also, I revealed that like pressure is good for you when the environment is right and the fan base is behind you. So it was great playing at Bloomington and IU, and then that Iowa game was nice because I really got hot early and we were down, and the shots were needed as a lot of my career went.
Well, so after your sophomore season, Indiana fired head coach Mike Davis, and then Davis then became the head coach at UAB, and you came with him. What
Yeah.
went into your decision to come to UAB?
So yeah, I think that situation was kind of different, but I think he was going to get fired and he left early, so he didn't get
Mm,
fired. Okay, so I think that happened, but like Mike Davis believed in me,
mm,
and then the loyalty mattered because he was behind me. He came to my dad passed away, and he came to the funeral, and like he was just really there for me as a father figure. And then like I kind of needed a fresh start mentally, and basketball wise. So I trusted that relationship more than the outside opinions. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
then sometimes I understand that growth requires some change and a little bit of discomfort.
yeah, that's a great point. Well, I've had a few transfers on my podcast, and I've always liked asking this question, but you had to sit out a year due to transfer rules. What was it like sitting out, and what growth did you have personally or as a player during that time span?
Well, that's a great question. And times are different now, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But it was very hard mentally at first because I was so used to just playing basketball my whole life. Every year up until that point, since I was like 5 years old, I was always able to play in games with referees and a crowd being there, that sort of type of stuff. But it forced some patience on me. It forced a lot of maturity. I learned the game deeper at a deeper level because I had to watch so much of it. But it made me also appreciate playing more when I came back, because everybody saw that junior year and how well I did, but nobody really seen the lonely behind the scenes work. My uncle, Nate the Great, played a huge part in that year. He rebounded for me and passed the ball to me every day. he always kind of jokes like he was the leading rebounder and assist guy in UAB history. So that was great. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned your junior year, and I think you undersold it, man. It was one of the greatest seasons by a UAB player ever. Just going into some of the numbers here, you broke the single season school records for points with 695 threes made that year with 142 and threes attempted with 355. In your first couple of months at UAB, you had some really good games. The very first game of the season at Georgia State, you had 25 points,
Yeah.
or no, 26 points, and you had 25 points against Jacksonville not too long after that. But you put the college basketball world on notice with a 33-point game against Kentucky at a neutral site game in Louisville. You had 5 points at the half and then absolutely just went ballistic in the second half with 28 points. And you shocked the Wildcats and UAB won. I'm going to rope my question in with a question I got from social media from Jeff Paget on X. Jeff said that a UK fan mouthed off at you in the second half during a second half timeout. I don't know if I didn't hear about this, but
What
what do you remember from that game, and what was it like doing it so close to home?
man? So like another great question. It's loaded, but it's another great question. All right. A fan absolutely said something to me, and it kind of brought me back to my roots. And like I love that kind of activity and behavior, I should say. So that definitely happened, Jeff. So that was a great question. And then in terms of the game, I started real slow in the first half. I think I only had 5 points. And then in the second half, early on, I got fouled on the 3-pointer.
Mm.
Right. And then I got to the free throw line. I saw the ball go through the hole 3 times in a row. I made all 3 of them. And then from there, I built some rhythm. We were down as well. So like I'm always like, I don't know what it is about being down in games. I've always like had I would say like maybe like just a thing where if I'm down, I'm gonna fight and claw to the end. So that helped us and that helped that performance. But also I have my childhood friends and family there. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that brings a little different energy out of me. And I had to represent where I came from, Willard's Boys and Girls Club, right behind 30th in Baltimore and Indianapolis. Okay. And that was one of those moments to dream about as a kid. And the confidence, the preparation from that year with Nate the Great, it all just met at once with the emotions and it exploded in that second half.
Well, man, it's almost surreal just thinking about this because I was there at that game with my dad, and I remember him telling me coming out of the half, he said, "I think Robert just needs to see one of them go in," and then hearing
Wow.
you say
Wow.
three go in, man, I was like, wow, I got chills, man. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just as a side note, as a shooter, that mentality of like just seeing one go in, like how much of a confidence booster is it? And especially when you start hitting them from three, is it just kind of like I just got to keep shooting, I got to stay hot, or is it just kind of like just kind of describe that for the listeners, I guess.
Well, yeah, seeing one go in is always a great thing for a shooter,
Mm.
especially like maybe a layup or an easy bucket. Like that's the best way for any shooter to get going. So seeing one go in that game, it really just opened up a whole nother like portal for me in my mind in terms of now, okay, I'm feeling good
Mhm.
because when you make a shot, obviously that's one of the
Yeah.
best feelings in the world, you know? And then, like I said, when I made the free throws, and then also I made a tough one. I think I forgot the guy's name, but he's long, tall, athletic defender, and I made a tough one on him. So that's when I really knew it was on. You know what I'm saying? So like seriously, that seeing one going in is huge for a scorer and a shooter.
Yeah. Well, you had several other big performances that year, including a 41-point performance at UTEP to tie the single game scoring record for UAB that was held by current UAB head coach Andy Kennedy.
Yeah.
You hit 20 points in 17 games that season, and you were named Conference USA Newcomer of the Year and first team Conference USA. What was that first year like overall playing at UAB?
It was one of the best years of my life for sure. Just living in Birmingham, the city embraced us as we got going. It was great, eat food and culture, you know. So it was amazing just living in Birmingham, and playing for the city. And then the basketball side of it, man, it was like I said, it was that emotion, that confidence, that preparation, all meeting at once. And it was a special time for sure. Just being at UAB, all the memories that we like talking about this now, just bringing back so many memories of my teammates. And I'm sure we'll get to that stuff too, but it was amazing playing in Birmingham for UAB.
In your senior season, UAB had some big games early in the NIT season tip-off. One was a crazy win at Arizona
Oh, yeah.
where Paul Delaney got fouled at the buzzer on a desperation heave from the other side of the court,
Right.
and somehow UAB even came away with the win. I had Paul on, and he talked about this moment, but um, UAB actually went on to play Blake Griffin in Oklahoma at Madison Square Garden. So, what were some of your memories from that NIT season tip-off and early on that season?
It was different for sure from my junior year, but just mentioning that Arizona game was that game was bizarre, man. like like for the player, so like it's something that actually teach today. I'm sure we'll get in that as well, but I teach kids about their IQ and their feel for the game and all that kind of stuff. So it was bizarre for me playing in such a high level game that the kid didn't know that they were up
Mm-hmm.
and fouled at the end of the game to give us a chance to actually come back and win that game. So like that was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like
And
playing
then
at MSG?
MSG was nice. It was you can kind of get overwhelmed some
Mm-hmm.
when you first walk in there, all the nostalgia. And then playing against Blake Griffin that year was different as well. You saw the highlights before the game came, and we kind of played a guard heavy lineup. I think Coach Davis was a little bit ahead of his time in terms of that because he like even when I was in Indiana, he put me at the four a lot and I could space the floor. But I think he was ahead of his time. But playing in Madison Square Garden against Blake Griffin and then all the other good teams that we played against was one of those things you check off the bucket list.
Mm-hmm.
It's something you want to do. So that was good. That was great.
Well, in the end, you finished your senior season as second team All Conference USA. You hit the 1,000 point career mark at UAB, and you reached the NIT for the second year in a row. After all these years, we're reflecting on it now. But how do you look back on your time at UAB and your college career overall?
Yeah, both UAB and Indiana, all the places I've been, it's just really made me grateful for the journey that I've been on. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes in life we can kind of get down and maybe second guess ourselves and all that kind of stuff. But like when I really look back and remember all the stuff, it just makes me grateful. It wasn't perfect, but it was a lot of great experience. Those experiences helped shape me for who I am today. And you know what I'm saying? It helped me also be able to give back the knowledge to kids that I'm coaching and teaching now. So it was great. It's I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
Well, that's awesome. After UAB, you got a shot at the NBA. You also played in Italy, and you came back and played for the Tulsa 66ers in the NBA G League, and then went back overseas and played in Slovakia, Germany, Belgium, and then came back in the G League for 4 more seasons. What was it like after college, and what was the biggest lesson you learned playing overseas and in the G League?
It was good after college. Like I said, another dream come true to be a professional athlete. That's always been one of my dreams growing up as a young kid, and then getting drafted to the NBA, hearing your
Mhm.
name called is special. It's something that'll never go away. So, it was great. And then the biggest lessons that I learned was that you basketball wise is that you have to be very darn good at this game if you want to play at the highest level. So I
Yeah.
learned that quickly. You got the top dogs in this game are different and then the other lessons that I learned is that talent isn't enough. You have to be adaptable. You have to be professional. Those were the biggest things I learned basketball wise. And then life wise, I learned that you have to trust yourself. You got to trust that gut feeling. That's one of the best feelings in the world. Like that gut feeling, when you get them butterflies, they start floating. Don't ever lose that feeling.
Yeah.
Like you're not scared. You're not scared. That's your body getting you ready to battle, prepare you, compete, and attack something that you're really passionate about. So that's what life wise I learned after basketball in college.
I mentioned you played overseas. What was there a big culture shock or a big adjustment to the style of play?
Yeah, it was a culture shock for sure. So I'll tell a story about when I first got to Italy. This is a great story. Okay, so I went to Italy. I flew over. It took me about 9 hours or so. I was tired when I first landed, and they gave me a phone when I first got there, right? The phone, it stopped working. Okay, first of all, the phone stopped working, so I couldn't really call anybody. And then when I tried to put my key into my door to go into my apartment that they gave us, the key broke.
Oh.
So I couldn't call anybody. I couldn't get inside my apartment. I had to sleep outside of the apartment. Well, it was luckily it was like a enclosed apartment building, so I kind of slept inside somewhere. But the next morning, the team came to get me for practice and get ready for stuff, and they saw me sleeping on my beds, and they had to apologize to me. But that was one of the craziest things that happened overseas. And then what was the second part of the question? I'm sorry.
Um, a big adjustment to the style of play.
Yeah, so the style of play, it was different, but it was more cerebral. The spacing, the timing, the IQ emphasis. I had to kind of adapt to that. I had a lot of it, but I had to adapt. The game slowed down afterwards because I started to truly understand more spacing and all that kind of stuff. But overseas basketball just really expanded my portfolio in terms of my brain and my IQ and understanding the game.
Okay. I have a social media question from Jason Mayhall on X. It's tied back into the current culture of college basketball and everything that's going on. He asked if Will Wade has tried to sign you this year.
No, but we'll wait. Give me a call, buddy. I'll get back in shape.
Hey,
That's a great
hey,
question.
maybe we could get you on at UAB again. I
There
mean,
we
they're
go.
always trying
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
It seems like we're always trying to come up with extra years of eligibility here and there
Yeah.
during this current landscape. So
Right. I have one more. I think they say we get five, don't you? I only played 4 years. I think I have another one.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
So
funny.
you mentioned some of the guys earlier, but you played alongside some very special players at UAB, several of whom I've had on this podcast. I would love to go into the list, but I think it would take me about 10 minutes just to go through some of
Yeah,
the great
for
players
sure.
that you played with. But
For sure.
what were some of your favorite moments or memories with teammates on and off the court at UAB?
Yeah. On the court, man, there's so many of them, but it's a game that really sticks out in my mind. And Paul Delaney obviously sticks out in my mind. He's one of my favorite teammates for sure. But let's go on the court right there. It was a Houston game, and it was a very high scoring game. And I think Paul Delaney or Aaron Johnson made the game winning shot
Mhm.
at the end of the game.
Mhm.
But that moment, it just kind of made me realize that like we belong on this type of level with this group of players. And Paul Delaney dunking on people is a special memory in my mind. Aaron Johnson just finding and setting up people all the time was great. I'm sure he's the UAB's assist leader. Steals probably, he's up there in the steals, but like those guys like that, Lawrence Kennard, just me and him on the perimeter knocking stuff down and getting after people. And then one of the not so great memories was the end of the Memphis game where I think we should have won.
Mm.
Like the end of that game sticks out in my mind too, but I
Yeah.
have a lot of great memories that kind of suppress that, you know. Yeah. So, and then off the court, there's a there was a time on it was Paul Delaney's birthday, and I'll just say, if you know, you know. This story was legendary. It was an epic night. If you know, you know. It was a fun night, but Paul Delaney and all my guys on the boys and girls team would understand this situation. I'll leave it there with that one.
That's fine. Let's keep
Yeah,
it PG rated, I guess,
there,
Robert.
there we go.
Well, so I have a kind of a deep question here for you from a player standpoint. But if you could sit down with your younger self before your first college game, what advice would you give him?
Okay, so I would give my younger self advice in terms of just telling him to be fearless. I'll tell him to trust his work. And the third thing I'll tell him is that God has already blessed you. So stay present in the journey. You belong and stop worrying about proving yourself to so many people. That's what I would tell him.
That's good advice. So, how is life now? What you up to?
Yeah,
What you got going on these days, man?
life's great, man. I'm living in Zionsville, Indiana. Nice, very nice neighborhood. I'm training and developing young players in the city, working on them with all the IQ stuff we kind of just finished talking about, and then helping them grow like on and off the court, but mentoring them some and preparing them for some of the stuff that I went through. And then I'm just creating some content also, creating basketball conversations, a little storytelling, and just trying to give players the understanding that I wish I had when I was a little younger.
That's awesome. You mentioned the content. So how can my listeners engage with you now?
Yeah, so my Instagram is at Robert Vaden 24. I'm on Facebook, Twitter. You can look me up on all of those. And um, yeah, that's how you can engage with me. But yeah, social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I have all that stuff. I need to get a little more busy on TikTok. It's not really my style, but those social medias are good.
All right. Well, Blazer fans, go give him a follow. Robert, before we go, man, I've got 5 rapid fire questions for you here. It's something a little fun to end the episode on a high note here. So, just honestly, the first thing that comes to your mind, okay? So, who was the toughest player you ever had to guard or play against?
Malik Harrison played for the family, and it was the AAU game.
Okay.
Tore me up.
Okay. Which teammate kept the locker room entertained the most?
Frank Holmes. Frank Holmes. He kept us entertained. I think he's a Sigma, I believe. So, you had the line dancing and jokes and just some good old Southern talk and food and all that kind of stuff. He kept us good.
Nice. I love Frank Holmes. He was one of my other all-time favorites.
Yes.
What was your go-to pregame meal, or did you have a ritual?
My mother cooked for sure. She was there with me in Birmingham. So whatever my mom cooked, and then I just like to take me a nap and watch some highlights of myself.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
What is and this can be college, it can be G League, it could be overseas. What was the best environment you played in?
Well, we're gonna have to start with the Memphis game stands out for sure. When we were in that all gold my junior year, I played in a game at Indiana versus Duke when JJ Redick was there. That
Wow.
place was electric. It was unbelievable. And then there's some places overseas. So Bonn, Germany, unbelievable fan base, great energy, great vibes. You ever go to one of those games around the Oktoberfest, man? It's lit. All right. And I want to give a shout out to my former teammate, Kyle Weems, as well. He was one of my teammates in Bonn. He was one of my favorite teammates. He was a rookie when I got there. And he's really blossomed and had a great career so far. So shout out to my guy, Kyle Weems, my dog. Keep doing your thing.
Awesome. Last question I got for you, Robert. Was there a player you modeled your game after growing up?
Well, early, I loved Kevin Garnett. So that's where a lot of my footwork and just knowledge of how to maybe go to the post some or play a little bigger came from. And we kind of look alike too. That's what people tell me. But yeah, Kevin Garnett. I like watching Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen. So that Celtics team is one of my all-time favorite teams. So all 3 of those guys, and then I like guys like that can shoot the ball. Michael Redd, cerebral player. It's a ton of players, but those are my guys.
I think you got your 3 from Ray Allen. It looks like, man. Hey, that's
Yeah,
quick trigger, man. Come on now. That's
yeah.
awesome.
I studied him for sure.
Well, Robert, man, it was definitely a pleasure getting to know you personally, and great getting to hear your stories. Glad to see you're doing well. Keep doing your thing, man, with the training. That's awesome. I gave him a follow. Blazer fans, be sure to give him a follow. Robert, thanks again for doing this, man.
All right, thank you, Will. It was such a great time being on with you, and I look forward to hearing more of your stuff, buddy.
Thank you very much. Go Blazers.
Go Blazers.
All right. Special thanks to Robert for joining me. Robert and I had a great conversation after the recording. He's somebody who I imitated growing up while shooting hoops in the driveway. One shot in particular always stuck with me. It's that shot where he's coming off of a screen at the top of the key against Kentucky in Louisville, and somehow he caught it, just turned and shot, and it was just pure. Like, I don't know how it went in, but he was feeling it that day. And it's always something that I always tried to imitate, but could never do. You can't imitate greatness like that. But I enjoyed the conversation, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you haven't seen my social media pages lately, you might have missed that this is the start of my summer podcast series, and I have some very big names joining me on the podcast very soon. Some older names and some very recent. So make sure you're following my social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, and X for new episode announcements and to see who is coming on the Dragon's Den next. You can also find game day posts, throwback content, and more on my pages. So go check it out by searching the handle at Dragon's Den EFEL on those platforms. And that's going to do it for episode 53 of the Dragon's Den. Thanks again for listening. Good night, and go Blazers.